Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with Road Music, another in our episode of music to play in the car when traveling. And my iconic travel trip is from Brooklyn to Milford, Connecticut, where I otherwise live, a distance of 72 miles. Now, this can take anywhere from an hour and 15, an hour and 20 minutes when there's no traffic, to 7.5 hours when there's lots of traffic. And on average, you know, on a weekday, such as this past Friday was, when I did this, 2.5 hours. Much of which is very frustrating. It's a lot of standing and waiting. And this was one of those trips where I really needed the music. And the music in question was Glazunov's Raymonda. I did not know how long the trip was going to take. I really did not. It wound up taking 2 hours and 2.5 hours, roughly. By the time I got going and put this on, I was so grateful. Raymonda saved my sanity, because Raymonda is, in this performance, what's 2 hours? 120 minutes, 2 hours and 20 minutes long. The ideal length. I mean, it really lasted. And not only that, but the structure of this ballet is just marvelous, because all of the plot happens in the first 2 acts. It has 3 acts. The third act is nothing but divertissement. And the second act has a lot of divertissement in it, but a little bit of plot as well. The story is the usual nonsensical, pointless silliness. Raymonda is a Hungarian princess or noble lady or something like that, and she's in love with a crusader who is running around crusading. And while he's running around crusading, she gets she is being sought after by some bad guy, some other person, and the other person does naughty things until the crusader comes back and they fight, and the bad guy gets killed, and Raymonda marries her crusader boyfriend, and all of that's over in Act 2. But there's 3 acts. So the 3 acts, it's kind of like Act 2 of the Nutcracker, when the Mouse King is dead and the Nutcracker is a nutcracker, and he takes Clara off to Candyland where they all watch the dances. Well, that's what happens in Act 3 of Raymonda, because it's a full-length ballet. The Nutcracker was shorter. This is the big kahuna. And it has in it, I might add, everything but the kitchen sink. I mean, this ballet is a Tchaikovsky grand ballet on the grandest possible scale. It's got the luscious harp things, the gorgeous solo violin adagio. It's got parts for piano and xylophone and celesta, and which Tchaikovsky had smuggled in for the Nutcracker. It's got everything that Glazunov could do. It's his largest work. It's the one where he really pulls out all the stops. It has fabulous tunes, and it is perfectly structured for a miserable 2.5 hour long road trip to Connecticut. Because, let me just tell you what happened on the way. I mean, first of all, I couldn't even get out of my parking garage because there was a funeral going on at the church next door. And for this, it was a big deal funeral. I don't know who it was who died. It's Zion Baptist Church, but it's a major Baptist church in the area, and the police had blocked off the street for several days to remove all the cars and leave room for all the people who wanted to go to the funeral. And so in order to get out of your garage, you had to be very careful and get down the street and beg permission from the police to let you out of, to let you into your garage, onto your block, and out of your block. So I got out of my block, and I got on the Brooklyn Queens Expressway, and I'm chugging along past the brand new shiny Kosciuszko Bridge, which is supposed to reduce the horrifying traffic jam that always appeared on the old Kosciuszko Bridge, which it sort of does. It's actually rather nice. And you get over that, and then you have to get onto the Grand Central Expressway, to get to the Van Wyck Expressway, the Grand Central Parkway, actually, to the past LaGuardia Airport to the Van Wyck Expressway. And there was this absolute total annihilation car crash right at the exit to get to the Grand Central, whatever the heck it is. And fortunately, that was mostly over by the time I got there. But I get nervous about these things because next to me, my passenger is my cat, Peepo. And like most cats, she is not thrilled with road trips. She's a very good cat. She mostly just sleeps, and it's not a problem, but I don't want there to have a problem. And her digestion gets messed up because of the trip back and forth, and that's nothing you want to deal with, believe me. So anyway, so she's sitting there next to me, and I just want to move. And of course, it's 100 degrees out. It's hot. It's miserable. It's Friday morning. It's like, ugh. It's after rush hour. But there really is no such thing anymore as after rush hour on a Friday, especially on the Connecticut Turnpike. So I get down the Van Wyck Expressway to the Whitestone Expressway. The Whitestone Expressway is a miracle of incompetent highway construction because you've got the Whitestone Bridge, which is one of the three main connectors, for those of you who do not live in this area, between Queens and the Bronx. Or, Queens and the Bronx. There are three. There's the RFK Bridge, which was formerly known as the Triborough Bridge, which is under permanent construction. And so everything is always jammed up there. It's a horrifying mess. And then there's the Throgs Neck Bridge, which is sort of further down on Long Island. And you can get there, but it's out of the way, the way I'm going. So my choice is the Whitestone Bridge. And the Whitestone Expressway, euphemistically termed an expressway, narrows down to a tiny little two-lane traffic sniglet from like 5 lanes. It goes down to 2 at the point where the road divides. You can take the Cross Island Parkway this way, or the little 2-lane Whitestone Expressway ramp, which has 3 other things funneling into it from the other direction. And I was there for 45 minutes, just sitting there, doing absolutely nothing. And Raymonda was playing. And the first act of Raymonda doesn't have a lot of action. There's sort of this big preludial thing. And then the rest of it is really very lyrical and very, very beautiful and soft and filmy and gauzy and I'm sitting there in traffic and it's not moving, and I feel so relaxed. Oh my goodness, it was so enjoyable. And even the cat was just happily mellow listening to Glazunov. And as soon as you get past Act 1, which is, the longest bit of it, so Act 1 is 70 minutes long. And it was literally 70 minutes before I was over the Whitestone Bridge. And so by the time I got over the Whitestone Bridge onto the extension of the Hutchinson River Parkway, which then goes into Interstate 95, which is the Connecticut Turnpike, which is always hell on wheels on the weekend. It's ridiculous. That's Interstate 95, in case you're curious. It got me through it. I mean, it really did. And then once you're moving again, it perks up because Act 2 has a wonderful divertissement with let me tell you what it has here. This, by the way, is the Moscow Symphony Orchestra under Alexander Anisimov. I think there's only one other complete Raymonda Melodia one, but this is really, really good. Yes, the deuxième tableau of, Act 2. Yes, here we go. Has like this wonderful dance of the jongleur, the juggler people, and the dance of the Arab boys, and the entry of the Saracens, and then the Grand Pas Espagnol. Oh, I love there's nothing like Spanish music written by people who aren't Spanish. It's so much fun. The Russians and the French did more Spanish music than the Spanish people did, and it's all marvelous. Here, let's listen to that, shall we? The Grand Pas Espagnol with the castanets and all that fun stuff. Here it is. isn't it? It's just wonderful. And then you've got, after that, you've got a bacchanal, because why not? Why not? And the bacchanal, of course, has the castanets back in it, because you can't have sex without castanets. And there's a video about that I did. You can have a look at it. And then there's then there's the battle between the two boyfriends of Raymonda. After all this fun going on, all this stuff, and there's a concluding hymn. And then Act 3 is all divertissement. There's a beautiful entr'acte. And I mean, there's it's just unbelievably characterful music. You've got the Hungarian, it takes place in Hungary. So after all the Spanish stuff, you get a whole act full of Hungarian stuff, which is equally fun. So there's the Dance of the Children and the classic Hungarian divertimento, and then a grand gallop and an apotheosis, and wonderful. Because just as I got on the New York State Thruway, which leads to the Connecticut Turnpike, which leads eventually to where I was going, everything just perks up. You get all these short little character pieces full of captivating rhythms and wonderful melodies, and it's moving while you're moving. So when you're stuck, you've got all of Act 1 to just mellow you out and keep you from going completely bonkers, assuming that the air conditioning in your car doesn't fail. And for Acts 2 and 3, just so you don't get bored, once you get moving, it perks up marvelously. This is a glorious piece of music and one of the best experiences I ever had on the road. I don't know if Peepo, my cat, was as entranced as I was, but she slept through most of it, which is more than I could, normally expect. And we got there, and it was all thanks to Glazunov and his glorious ballet, Raymonda. So keep on listening, friends. Thank you so much for joining me. Take care.